Welcome to the Spirit of Business, where business owners learn to thrive. My name is Jamie Pritchard, your host and mortgage agent with Mortgage Guys. Today I'm talking to Lisa Kember, and just a bit of background to Lisa. Lisa helps ambitious business leaders and entrepreneurs grow stable and profitable businesses. As a rented lips this morning. As a passionate champion for the entrepreneurial community, Lisa is a business growth expert with a coaching and advisory practice and runs training courses to help entrepreneurs optimize their business and facilitates peer advisory programs for established small and medium-sized company owners. Welcome, Lisa. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me this morning.
Oh, my pleasure. So, Lisa, tell us, you've been an entrepreneur yourself for a while. Can you give us a bit of a background? Just how long have you been in it, and why on God's green earth would you become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, why would anyone, right? Yeah. I actually grew up in an entrepreneurial family, so I think I was doomed before I was born.
Okay.
Yeah, so we worked in the family business, and so I knew from a young age that I was probably going to start my own business one day, and started my first business in high school, cleaning houses for people.
Okay.
And, little entrepreneurial endeavor. That's how I saved money for school. And then started my first, let's call it real business in, I guess I was 27. So...
Okay.
And then I've been, I guess, entrepreneur most of my career. I did do one corporate stint in the middle between businesses, but yeah.
So what is your main focus now?
So now I'm in a business where we help entrepreneurs who have some big plans. We help them do what they need to do in their business in order to get out of their own way, put the right people in place, et cetera, in order to facilitate their growth and achieve their goals. And so we do that through a combination of training, development work with their team, some consulting, and then our peer advisory groups where they learn from one another.
Certainly in today's environment, that's something that a lot of business owners could use some objective insight into how to grow your business. So it's fantastic that you're helping businesses grow even in these crazier times.
Yeah,
what's one thing you would tell your younger self when about starting your business or becoming an entrepreneur?
Oh, it would have been get the right advisors early. So in my first real business, my agency business that I started when I was 27, I came in kind of cocky, thought I knew everything, and got to a certain point and then churned and just could not seem to grow.
Right.
And so I was probably 6 or 7 years in, and one day I had let someone go, and I got a call from a woman who was looking to hire this person and wanting a reference. And so I gave the reference, and then I was chatting with the woman, and I said, well, what do you do? And she tells me that they're in the planning business. And I was like, planning? What's that? And so that is when I hired her and her husband, who ran this company, to help entrepreneurs figure out how to grow, and took the business from doing about $600,000 a year to over a couple mil, and then we sold it. Or I sold it. So.
It's funny how opportunity presents itself sometimes when we're entrepreneurs. That you can plan as much as you want, but sometimes things fall into your lap. Do you think that's we talk a lot about the spirit, and the spirit can be something external that brings things to us, or the spirit can be something that we have internally. Do you think those things just happen, or are you ready for the opportunity when they present themselves?
Oh, I think sometimes we're not ready for the opportunity when it presents itself.
Okay.
We got to get our egos out of the way, right? But sometimes the universe keeps knocking on our door. And lets us know that we need something. There had been other opportunities where I could have brought people in and I just wasn't ready for it.
Right.
So a lot of times in the work that we do with the entrepreneurs that we work with, it's getting people to understand and sort of get out of their own way to allow things to happen.
Right.
So yes, that's a bit of mindset, but it's also a little bit of moving ego out of the way.
Mm-hmm. And awareness too, just
Mm-hmm.
knowing, because sometimes these things can be brought in and people miss the opportunity, and then they wonder that other person goes and says, why are they working with that other person?
Mm-hmm.
I've had them first.
Yeah, it could
That
be
often?
awareness. It could be just fit too, right? Somebody was able to understand where you were at a particular time. I know many times there's emotions around business. I mean, when you're in small business, when you're an entrepreneur, when you're the one that started it, or even if you're taking over a family business, you often have situations where there's a lot of pressure that comes from expectations, either what the expectations that you put on yourself or the
Right.
expectations that your family have for you, or just that feeling of really wanting to accomplish something. And so there's, I guess you could call it pride, but I think emotions, like a real burning desire in some cases. And when things aren't going well, often it's finding somebody who can understand and speak to the heart of that. I'll
Right.
tell you, at different points when I've brought advisors in businesses I've been in, it's been because they understood my issue, because they'd been there, or because they had worked with enough people to understand what I was going through at that particular time, and to be able to offer some kind of solution. So I think that's a big part of what it makes us successful is myself and my business partner. My business partner is
Right.
a senior executive in a large company. His career history is very much corporate, so he brings that strategic thinking to it. And then I bring the scrappy entrepreneurial view of things, and the personal experience of riding that wave of emotion when things are going really well or when they're not. And when they're
Right.
not is very often when we're able to come in and help them understand why things aren't going well and what they need to do to move things forward.
Yeah. I'm wondering, in your, I'm always interested with entrepreneurs, and I don't ever want to make people think on this podcast that you mentioned the ups and downs and the emotions. That is the ride of an entrepreneur. What was your biggest failure, and what did you learn from it?
Oh, I had a business go really bad.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Tell us
uh,
more.
what's that?
Tell us more.
Yeah, it's funny. It's the one that I learned the most in. I was young, I was stupid, and I wasn't careful about the financial management of the business and didn't plan ahead. And so we got into a situation in 2008 where suddenly the world was different and I wasn't financially able to carry the business through. And
Right.
so got into some trouble. Didn't go bankrupt, but certainly had an awful lot of trouble at that time. Had to let people go, had to work with creditors and
Yep.
figure out how to deal with things. And I learned a lot about the financial side, which had I maybe had a different accountant or a better relationship with my accountant, maybe, or if I'd listened more, maybe he would probably say,
Yep.
maybe I would have been better able to carry it through. And so that's one of the big things that we do with a lot of our clients, is to look at the way they manage money and manage debt, and make sure that they're putting things in place to keep cash coming in at a pretty consistent rate, and sort of get out in front of that long before there's ever
Right.
an issue. So, I'm not going to say it's perfect. Not everybody listens,
Right.
or sometimes scenarios like this happen where business just gets totally shut down.
No,
And what can you do, right?
it never is. And I've talked to it, and I've previously been an entrepreneur myself, and had to get back into the working world because for much the same reasons. And in my experience, I found it was. There's a lot of emotion that goes into being an entrepreneur. And sometimes if you let that take control and lead you, you forget about some of the practical and business things. Do you find that?
Very much so. I mean, there's certainly emotional times in business, even when things are going well.
Yeah.
There's the stress of, can we take on that bigger opportunity? Can we achieve the goal that we're working towards? So there's that kind of stress and the emotions related to the stress. But then if things get tight, like if cash flow gets tight, which sometimes it does in growing a business, that can be emotional depending on the people who are running the business and their comfort level with that, and maybe what they have in an asset base outside of the business. Very often entrepreneurs have too much of their wealth tied up in their business.
Right.
So that can lead to stress and related emotions. There's also the emotions of, a business can be all consuming at some points in terms of time and energy and, the way it preoccupies thinking. And that can affect relationships in the entrepreneur's life. And then that leads to emotions and, challenges around dealing with things. I find a lot of women in business carry a lot of guilt around, being a mom, are they spending enough time with their kids? They should be making more home prepared meals. And, so sometimes we're just getting into some of those things where we're talking about strategies to solve that. I even have run for some of our clients who have struggled with that. I've run like once a month cooking sessions at my house. So, just little things that make a difference in helping people think differently to solve some of those things.
So for you, I mean, you've lived that experience. You've come out of a very difficult time, and you're obviously running a successful business now. What were some of the key skills that you developed, or that have helped you maintain your success?
Well, I think one is a consciousness that no matter how well business is going, there are risks associated with it. So you have to understand what your comfort level is with risk, and how far you're willing to go, and set some limits on yourself or on your business. And then the other thing is related to that, really leveraging the advice of people and surrounding yourself with people who maybe aren't in the same business necessarily, although, it could be, but have experience and advice and professional training to help you achieve your goals, and to take a more holistic look at those goals. And very often entrepreneurs come to us with a goal to grow the top line revenue, and yet what they might be better off doing is growing their margin or improving their profitability. And so that's a lot of the work that we do.
Right.
Is not that we shouldn't grow top line revenue, but let's start by improving profitability and then grow from there.
What do you do for your own mindset? We've talked about having advisors, but do you do anything specifically? I'm always interested in morning routines. Do you have a morning routine, or?
Well, I'm a single parent of an 8-year-old. So, my morning routine, I have learned over the last 8 years, I've been on my own with him from the time he was a baby. And I have learned that if I'm going to manage my emotions and be the best parent and the best businesswoman, I have to carve out that space for myself. I'm not really a morning person, although I do try to get up and have 15, 20 minutes in the morning, but I have
Right.
to carve time. And so I generally do that in the evening. So
Right.
I always find that if I go to bed with positive thoughts and, I've spent some time meditating or reading or, gone for a walk or looked after myself, whether that's a bubble bath or whatever, maybe that's TMI.
Right. Self-care.
Then I am a better businesswoman, better mom, better person.
What three people that have influenced you? These could be anybody within your life, could be people that you know, dead or alive. Who are the three most influential people in your life?
Well, I'm going to say my dad first. He was a bootstrap entrepreneur. Started very young also, started his first business in his early 20s. And interestingly enough, when I was 8, so he ran a couple of different ventures. And then when I was 18, he sold the business that we'd all worked in growing up and went into the ministry. So now I have his entrepreneurial background and his spiritual guidance as a support to my mindset challenge that you just asked about. Then my aunt, who was also an entrepreneur, her and her husband ran a cabinetry company, a kitchen cabinet company. And she was just a very wise woman, the kind of person who simply by asking questions and giving people time, people would share, and then she can offer input and support. And I've learned those skills are valuable in the work that we do, right? Giving people space to just be and share what they need to share. And sometimes entrepreneurs just need to unload. And then the third person, I'm going to say are my original planning partners, Nick and Judy Hughes, your planning partners. Hugely valuable to me in my first company, and the skills they taught me around planning and development work in building my business, it made all the difference for the next few companies that I went on to build. And then I went and worked in corporate for a while, running the Canadian operation for a US company. And the skills they taught me there, I used with my team. So grew that business in Canada quite dramatically in the 7 years I was there. But it was really the skills that I learned from Nick and Judy.
Right. Wow. That is fascinating. What an honor to all of those people in your life, your father and your aunt, and certainly the people that you're currently working with. I'd like to understand a little bit more about what you do, because when we talked, one of the things you talked about that you do very well is profit drivers, and that there was some key things that you focus on, and certainly in today's environment, I think many business owners would be interested to know what are they, and how specifically can they focus on those things. So could you tell us a bit more about that?
For sure, yeah. It kind of references what I said earlier. A lot of times people come to us wanting to grow, and in order to support growth, they need to free up cash. So a big part of what we do, especially at the beginning, is to help people put metrics in place around key profit drivers in their business. And so we have found that there are 5 drivers that sort of work across all businesses, and then we adapt according to the industry that we're working in.
Right.
But those 5 profit drivers are number of leads that you have coming into your business, so the number of new business opportunities you have, your conversion rate on those opportunities, leading to, of course, more clients in your business. And then revenue per customer is the third profit driver. And so if you can make, I'll come back to that. But the third is the revenue per customer. The fourth is gross margin. And then the fifth is fixed costs. So managing your costs related to your business. And a lot of us get into situations where we have, I call them leaks, right? Things where money is sort of going out and nobody's really thought about it in a while. So when we come in, we typically work in those 5 areas and track on a monthly basis the metrics, because the thinking is this, and we teach our clients that if you manage according to metrics, it's not so much that you are just working on ego. It's you want to be looking at how can you make marginal improvements across the business, because if you make even a 5 or 10% improvement in each one of those 5 areas, you drive a huge impact to your bottom line. It's shocking sometimes how big that impact is. You think it's nothing, but it's big. It's kind of like losing weight, right? You can't lose your 25 pounds in a week. I mean, some would say if you did the grapefruit diet or whatever, you could, but it's not going to stick, right? But if you want to lose your 25 pounds by Christmas and you aim to lose, let's say, a pound or 2 a week, now you're talking something that actually makes a big impact over time. And so that's the theory, the thinking. Small changes made consistently over time can lead to a dramatic impact on your bottom line, which then frees up cash. And then we can use that in order to support growth.
How do you keep people motivated for that small change? Because a lot of people are looking for the big win. You know, I just need things to change, and they want to gain those 25 leads in the first 2 weeks. And I understand. I've been in sales for a long time, and I totally get that the incremental changes. It's certainly. If you're looking at making phone calls or leads, or looking at the way you do leads, it's very easy to demotivate yourself and say, oh, I really should be making 50 calls a day. Why don't you start with 5?
Exactly.
Measure that.
There's a lot of should have, could have, right?
But how do you keep people motivated to focus on that end goal and just keep doing that activity?
Oh, a lot of coaching and nurturing and pushing.
Okay.
A lot of looking at data. So, I mean, we talk a lot about how, when we measure metrics, it's great for celebrating past activity, because metrics are only a snapshot in time, right? It's the activity that makes a difference. So if the goal is to add, 5 new customers a month or 10 new customers a month, then what are the activities that you need to do to get there? So the metrics are one piece, and then we have a whole planning process that we go through around what are the small incremental changes you can do this week, this month, this quarter. And and then there's a lot of trying to celebrate wins. So our peer groups are great for that. There's a lot of peer celebration, a lot of looking at metrics collectively and celebrating one another as we hit certain milestones. So there's a lot of power in that. And I mean, how do you motivate? Well, you do a little bit of nurturing, coaching, pushing.
Yeah.
And then people have to be self-motivated too. Right?
I like that you the metrics aren't the be all and end all. It's and still celebrating those little milestones along the way, and then learning from that and instilling that. And you actually have your business. You actually have a program that I think you refer to as peer group coaching. Could you tell us a bit more about that? And what is the name of your business? I don't think we've got that out there.
That's true. We never did. Yeah. So Business Leaders Growth Group is the business name. And we run CEO advisory groups or peer groups where once a month we meet collectively. Right now it's mostly online. But we meet monthly. We go through a process of sharing what's going on in the business, from looking at how the business is proceeding, so looking at the performance of the company. And then we share wins and challenges and opportunities. And so myself and my partner, we act as facilitators to a process where the owners of businesses hold one another accountable to some extent through this facilitated process. So, I mean, accountable sounds not very nice. The group are actually very supportive of one another, and they all look forward to getting together every month.
Right.
And it becomes a chance to get the support they need in order to build and grow and not feel so alone. Because being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, particularly as your team grows, can be isolating.
Yes. Oh yeah, I can certainly attest to that in days, and I do try to some of the advice that you've taken. I do have a mastermind group within my industry that I'm part of, that I connect with at least 3 times a week.
Nice.
And some of what you talked about is just challenges that we're having, and it's a good place to just be yourself and be able to share the good, the bad, and the ugly. We're going to share a link. You've sent me a link for that. We will share that in the post for this interview. If people are interested in getting a hold of you directly, Lisa, how can they do that?
They can go to businessleadersgrowthgroup.com,
Okay.
and my contact information is there on the site. I will say that link that you are going to share, that is a gap analysis for your business. If you want to look at those things that hold you back from growing, from improving profitability, we have a self-assessment tool, and that's the link that...
Is there a cost to complete that, or?
Nope, that's a free service. So complete that. You get a score that gets assigned to your business and some advice related to that score.
Very good.
And then if you're interested in chatting with us about that, certainly be willing to have a conversation.
Great. One last question. What does the spirit of business mean to you?
The spirit of business, I just love that. To me, that says everything that there is about entrepreneurship. I have, from a young age, been surrounded by entrepreneurs. And to this day, I mean, I turned 50 this year. My heart is with the entrepreneur. And it's the spirit that they have, that, get hit in the face and get back up and keep going. The daily getting out of bed when things are going well and, pushing things forward, or when things aren't going well, taking that extra 5 minutes to, whine a little and then getting out of bed and keep going. It's just, there's something about them. It's just, you can't keep them down.
Yeah. Yeah.
So definitely. To me, the spirit of business is what makes an entrepreneur the most fascinating person in the world to me.
Well, Lisa, it's been a pleasure talking to you and understanding a little bit more about your business and entrepreneurial journey. And it's great to see how you take both the practical needs of business owners, because that is very important, and help to still maintain that spirit and emotional side as well, and help business owners find a balance. So I look forward to following your group and your future endeavors. And thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. I so appreciate the opportunity.